Hey Molly, how you doing?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Molly, thank you so much for jumping to the podcast. But before we start any podcast, I don't know if they warned you. I don't know if they told you, but we do this thing called the over the top intro for every guest we have because we are super grateful to have a person like of your caliber stopping over here. Is that okay if we do that? We butter your bread before this interview start?
Please, please. Yeah, who am I to stop you?
Let's get into it. My next guest is an actress known for her work in The Widows, The Wolf and the Lion, and my favorite, Sarah McBride in Chicago Fire. One episode was way too less. She is the pride of the University of Wisconsin-Madison Communications Department. She stars in the film of what we here to talk about today, Wild Eyes and Wicked, coming to you on demand and digital June 11, 2024. Molly Kunz, what good podcast.
Thank you. What an intro.
Man, I'm fanboying out. Look, Molly, I am very familiar with your work. I love what you're doing. I understand you are not Phoebe. I know in my brain, I know you're not Phoebe. But girl, that was the best decision you ever made. Going with that professor, not dying every 4 seconds. I mean, like this, yo, get some stability in your life. Yo, I watched that. Molly, look, I understand you are not Phoebe, sort of,
Mhm.
but not really, but kind of, but at the same time, when you made that decision, nah, man, I'm gonna chuck the deuces on this. This is getting crazy. And I was like, yes, yes, please do that.
Yeah, yeah. Protect your mental health.
Man, but with that aside, Molly, like, thank you for I had to fanboy out just a tad bit, but let's talk about what we're here to talk about. Wide Eyes of Wicked. Man, your character in this is I love it because it's complex. It's you talk about mental health. You okay, without spoiling this movie, I gotta say it this way. You are dealing with your mental health in a fun way. That's the word that we'll say adventurous, fun way. What was it about this character that made you want to portray, with all the obstacles and everything? What drawed you to this character?
I think, I think obviously, like you said, her complexity. I love that she's flawed. I love that she's not handling everything the way she necessarily should or like her best self would, but she's still willing to look at herself honestly. She's like, okay, I'm dealing with something, and eventually she can't help but recognize that she needs to confront this. She does. She's the hero. She's a badass. She just decides to take charge of her life, and I was like, that's really cool.
You know,
Um,
one of the cool parts about this movie is the undercurrent of tackling our demons. And in this case, it was throwing on a suit of armor, grabbing a sword, and actually fighting those demons.
yep.
But one of the cool things about this journey with your character, without spoiling it, it was like we got a chance to see a total arc of this character in a weird way, where it was you don't know what you're doing it, and then when you actually do this thing, you're like, oh, okay, well, there's peace on the other side. So, how was it going through those different transitions in this character?
I think it was really cool to have the opportunity to see her at each of these points, and um and relating it to the bigger metaphor too, where we like healing isn't linear. It's all, you're gonna falter and you're gonna try and fix it, and then, oh, that didn't work. Now I have to choose to go back again. I have to um really, really fight. And I think it was cool to be able to get to develop
You're doing
her.
that thing we don't spoil it. Are you doing that thing we don't spoil the movie? It's harder
Okay,
than
okay,
it seems.
okay.
It's harder
So
than it
she,
seems. I know.
okay, I know you're right. Okay, how do I say this? she's I liked having the chance to actually learn. I had to learn these skill sets myself too. And learn how to fight and do it correctly, use all the technique and uh yeah, I'm losing the thread now because I'm
Yeah,
trying not
you
to.
don't want to spoil the movie.
Yeah, I'm trying not to spoil the movie.
I totally get it. All right, let me transition with this character. Like some of
Okay.
your first scenes, especially with Michael, I love them, and because they're so cold and awkward. It is two people who just plain should like it's so based on obligation. It's scary. So
Yeah.
how was it doing the like I talked full disclosure, I got a chance to talk with him before you, but how was it
Oh,
with
well,
those
good. Yeah.
scenes where you got you're so cold and awkward and essentially trying to push each other's buttons. How I felt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were absolutely like those characters are totally trying to push each other's buttons. There's so much history and so much hurt there, um, and so much misunderstanding. And whenever you have those misunderstandings, the two people have to choose to want to communicate and to want to understand each other. And what I loved about the way that Michael played his character that helped me with my performance is like he really made Greg's character so awkward, like you said. He made him awkward and weird, and you could tell he's just not good with people. And um, it was good to see the quirky snarkiness and how that was his character's defense mechanism. And then uh, Lily fights back with her defense mechanism, which is usually kind of just hurling insults
Yeah.
and putting up her defenses. And I think what was cool is that he gave Greg enough vulnerability and chose the right moments to reveal it so that I had the chance as Lily to decide to be a grown up and decide to look at him and say, you're not my dad in the same way anymore, and I can view you as a whole person because I can see this vulnerability, I can see this awkwardness, I can see that you're trying even if you're not doing a good job. And her choice to say, like, to just sort of let the walls down and let what he's giving her be enough.
That was
That
awesome
was
because when you did okay, let the walls down sorta
sort of.
with Greg. It was throughout the very few things you have in common, and that's sword fighting for
Mm-hmm.
whatever reason. So like now you got this like Karate Kid type montage of my
Oh
style
yeah.
is better than yours. Your style is not as good as mine. And now you guys start to click. So in the sword fighting montage of this, was that a real thing? Did you do some training? Because that shows up so much in this film. Whereas it's sort of like, okay, does she know what she's doing for real? Or is it just, she's just acting?
So I had before we started filming, I had fencing lessons and I also had broadsword training. So I had I had some foundation for knowing what I was doing. I mean, certainly I was not an expert, but I had like taken enough I had done enough prep where I knew basically like how to move with these things and how to I think it is so much fun, that montage where she's she's trying to use the sword like a foil, And he comes over and he's like, no, no, that's not what you're doing. You're not trying to poke your opponent to get a point.
Right.
You
Trying to
have
kill him.
to you're trying to kill him. You have to hold this thing like it's a legitimate weapon. And you have to put some power behind it. And like I think that's actually a really sweet moment because he starts showing up for her, and I think that's what she needs. And yeah, just so much fun to shoot too.
It was awesome because not only did you have a lot of work from Michael, Stephanie, who I got a chance to talk to, I'm privileged to talk to. Like, I'm just being upfront with you. Every scene you had with Stephanie was super intense. It was just
Yeah,
like every scene, and there was no like, hey, let's get to know each other type of thing. Every scene you
right.
had with her, without spoiling this movie, was super intense. So, did you guys have a game plan? Did you just kind of like, all right, let's hang out after this? What was it? What was it?
You know, it's funny that you say that because it didn't we didn't really talk about our characters' relationship to each other. And I think what is good about that and why we didn't do it is because we each were bringing what we needed to the table, and she is dead. That relationship doesn't exist except in the memory that they each have from before she died. So Lily is still, her relationship to Stephanie's character is still, I am this 8-year-old girl and you're my mom. And so everything that I was playing as Lily with relation to her in any scene we had was still, I'm 8 years old, when she's seeing it as her mother and interpreting it as her mother.
I
Um,
see.
and of course, without spoiling anything,
Is-
you know,
Yeah,
there are times she does not interpret it that way. But I think that we actually benefited, our performances benefited from not trying to make the relationship, um, not trying to make it anything that wasn't kind of already existing in the story world and in the script that we could find. Because a great sadness of Lily's life is her mom doesn't know her, and she has no idea who she became, and that's made it really intense to have those scenes. And Stephanie's like just so talented. She's
she's awesome.
phenomenal. Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, we're getting around to it. We're getting around that time. Molly, I have to ask, I mean, like you crushed it in this film. You're welcome back to this podcast anytime after the 11th. That way we can really get into all the stuff we've been trying to tiptoe
I know,
around.
I know. I'm trying to gatekeep all my conversations. I'm like,
It's
what
not
can I
as
say?
easy
What
as it seems.
can...
But I have to ask this obligatory.
Yeah.
You crushed it in this performance, but what's next on the horizon?
So I'm in Vancouver right now shooting season 2 of The Irrational. Um, that premieres on NBC this fall, Tuesday nights at 10 p.m. So that's kind of been, I'm up here shooting for many, many months. So that's taken up most of my time right now.
Okay. And what I'm not going to do is eat up more of your time looking for spoilers because I love preview. But at the
I know. You were like, wait, you're
no, no,
back?
yeah, you saw it. It did cross my mind. It did cross my mind. However, I'll be like the general public. I'll watch it. I'll just be a fanboy as it is. Molly, thank you so much for joining this podcast.
Thank you so
We
much.
love you for it, and you're welcome back anytime.
Thank you. This was a blast.
All right. Thank you so much, man. Have a great day.
You too.
All right.